Was she originally a patient?
And then she also understood him.
Yes.
She had such a bright mind that she grasped it even before he understood it. And she was also really furthering his intuition very much, because at that time he was also, I mean, he was a medical doctor. He had worked at the asylum of Burkölzli, and he was very intellectual until really he came to know her.
That was the point. There was nothing shadow in it, no shadow. And Jung wanted to be and tried to be as conventional as possible, wherever possible. So that in the inner world, and his relationships with both women, he could be as unconventional as he really was, as unique as he really was. No, it was quite a thing for him to do around 1910. You know, the Victorian age wasn't quite so far gone, and it wasn't anything he hid. You know, I remember I was walking in Zurich, there near the Institute, and there was Jung and Tony Wolff walking. You know? There was nothing hiding. And it was in this relationship that he had these tremendous experiences of the conjunctio. It's when he understood the mystical background of sexuality, mystical, the psychological archetype that was working there.
That was later such an established relationship, and Mrs. Jung was so included that I am very sure he would not have parked his car in front of Tony Wolff's house, who was 1 minute away from the Institute, and everybody would know when he was there and when he was not there, if he would have had the slightest doubts about it.
And so this relationship with Tony Wolff was not an affair, it was another wife.
2 wives and 1 man. That's an excuse. My opinion is he should, as CG, he should know earlier that that was his anima, and so come to a stop.
One day Mrs. Jung approached me and said, would you please cooperate analytically with me and Tony Wolff? So we did a threesome analysis for quite a long period of time.
Oh.
Yeah, that was very funny.
I see. Mutual dreams or just Jung's dreams?
No Jung's dreams. Mrs. Jung's dreams and Tony's dreams and my dreams.
Oh, all 3?
Yeah.
I see. And you found this very helpful?
Was interesting.
Right,
was
very interesting.
She wasn't at all browbeaten by Jung. She was downright and direct, and she did a lot of work on his papers, too. She obviously stood by Jung all through his periods of crisis. She was a much more solid sort of character than Jung.
First, she had given birth to 5 children. And then Jung told us, and she told us, and she felt the need also to know more. And then she studied physics and mathematics and many other things. And then she had an analysis with her own husband.
She did?
Yes.
How difficult.
Yes. She had also another analysis, but the main thing was analysis with Jung. And afterwards, he allowed her to analyze. And she was a very good analyst, and the opposite of her husband. He was more intuition and thinking, and Emma Jung was sensation, mainly sensation, absolutely down to the earth, and more to that, to the depths of the earth.
Mrs. Jung had a fantastic sense of humor. She giggled and laughed, and she was very, very nice woman. Motherly, but I think she helped a lot in working out, let's say, the animus anima problem. It's those 3 who did the work, I think.
Emma Jung said to a close friend of mine just before she died that she had never ceased to be grateful in her life for Tony Wolff, because Tony Wolff was able to do for her husband something that she could not have done.
I think what's remarkable is that they made it. And I think they're the ones, that Tony and Emma are the ones that made the threesome situation possible. They worked out something between them.
Jung, in his dedication copy of Answer to Job, wrote, well, I have to translate it, unasked dropped from heaven. Ungefragt vom Himmel gefallen. So, no, I think naturally the relationship changed, the relationship do change, but it existed.
And he was always very present and very concerned also about the future of life on this globe. I think he needed space and quietness to meditate about them and to find as much answer as he could find. It was at the same time, I think, a total participation, but also well, I wouldn't call it a but a philosophical distance, or I don't know how to call it.
He went to Berlin so often during the year, and he did all his reading up there.
Most of the reading was done there, and also most of the writing?
Also writing.
In the fall of 1922.
So is there mit dem Velo noch Prisna?
He came by bicycle. Dr. Jung came by bicycle on his bicycle from Prisna. The western part of the land was sold by Mr. Hugenvatter's father to Dr. Jung. Hugenvatter's father and Dr. Jung had a very good relation. Weiter. Gerade am Ende. Ja, nein, nein, schnell. Und der Bruder auch noch. Großvater und ja, Sie haben das im letzten Moment beschlossen.
Ja, mit dem Trick.
Spoke with everyone.
Nein, you know, ich ist behaupten.
And when they were in trouble, you see, for instance, with bringing in the hay before it came raining, Dr. Jung would help them.
A man is not complete when he lives in a world of statistical truth. He must live in a world of his biological truth. Man has always lived in the myth. And we think we are able to be born today and to live in no myth, without history. That is a disease. That's absolutely abnormal, because man is not born every day. He is once born in a specific historical setting with the specific historical qualities, and therefore he is only complete when he has a relation to these things. It's just as if you were born without eyes and ears, when you are growing up with no connection with the past. From the standpoint of natural science, you need no connection with the past. You can wipe it out.
Yes, yes.
And that is a mutilation of the human being.
He had what the Greeks called techne, hence our word technology and so on. And techne means also art and skill. He lived his sensation, I think, in its natural state, and therefore it was very creative. He looked at the wall in his last years. You see the irregularities of the stone would create that picture, and then he would carve it out.
The statements of every religion, of many poets and so on, are statements about the inner mythological process, which is a necessity, because man is not complete if he is not conscious of that aspect of things.
Well, we have to revive primitive superstition, because in primitive people, their sword has a soul, their hammer has a soul. No smith would start making a sword without a ritual first. Still in the Middle Ages, the heroes who depended on their sword, think if your sword breaks in battle, you're a dead man. So their sword had a name and a soul. They knew that sword, and the solidity of that sword was their fate. And now it's still so. Let a few of your atomic plants explode, and please. Matter if it has to cooperate with you, needs loving care. And not only technically by oiling and so on. You have to kind of live with it. Otherwise it plays you tricks. Well, one of the last times he went to the tower, for instance, he hadn't been there for a long time, and the first days the covers of the pans like to jump off and fall on the floor in the wrong moments, and you know how objects can absolutely misbehave. So he put himself up in the middle of the kitchen and said, now, ladies and gentlemen, pots and spoons, I know I have neglected you for a long time and you are angry with me, but I beg your pardon and I ask you now to cooperate again. And from then on, there were no more accidents. He had great fun with that. If you notice, It's highly symbolic. The days you can't open a door, you can't get at something, or some object hides from you just when generally when you are not in yourself and in an impatient mood or so on, then everything plays you tricks. It's naturally your own unconscious mixed up with it. But it communicates with matter.
We are only deeply unconscious of these facts because we live all by our senses and outside of ourselves. If a man could look into himself, he would discover it.